Hey, it's David Yeck here, and thanks for listening. So, I've been thinking, and you know what? I really can't remember what it was that I was thinking about. So, I thought I'd bring somebody on who could help rectify the situation. His name is Brad Zupp, and he is one of the world's great memory athletes. That's right. There are such a thing, memory athletes, and he's going to give us pointers on how to remember what we can't remember. Remember those times you walked into a room and you don't know why you walked in there? Well, this guy is the guy to turn to. So that's what we'll yak about today. What's up, everybody? David Yeck here for Yak About Today, hoping you are better, healthier, and more informed than any generation that came before. So if the years 46 to 64 means something to you, then this is the place you want to be. Now put your headphones on, go for a run, and listen to what we yak about today. Oh, and promise, this is David Yeck here. You're listening to Yak About Today, and I do have Brad Zupp here, and I am so excited about this, and this is a program that I know, especially the Florida audience, is going to love. I want to welcome you, Brad. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
All right, so your thing is memory empowerment for all. So let me give you the personal, the dinner table talk, that type of thing about people who are 55 plus, and I think you know that this is a show that is oriented toward a 55 plus audience.
The wiser and the more mature. And I'm not quite there, but I'm close to being wise and close to being mature, I guess you'd say.
Well, we don't think it starts exactly at 55.
Okay, good.
You know, some people get it at 35, 40, that type of thing. So
just turned 50, so I feel like I'm kind of sliding in there with you.
By the way, the 0 years aren't as important as the 5 years. You'll learn that soon. You see, 0, you're just entering this wonderful decade, things. In the 5 year, all of a sudden, you're the next 0.
Ooh. Well, thanks for that. I'm just getting over turning 50, and now I got that to look forward to.
Well, you got 5 years before you have to think about it. Okay, so let me tell you the most recent dinner conversation. We had some neighbors over for dinner, and of course, a lot of things, as you can imagine, we talk a lot about doctors. We talk a lot about, you think you've got pain, you should see my pain, that type of thing. But the most interesting conversation that came out recently was, and it started with a joke. I think it was me. I said, what I can't stand is I'll get up, I'll walk into another room, the bedroom, and I'll look around and I'll go, damn, why did I come in here? And you develop methods. So you go back where you started, and you sit there and go, okay, I was standing here. What set me off to go into that room? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that started the entire conversation about how faulty our memory is, our recent memory is, and how extraordinary it is that all of a sudden we remember when we were 5 years old, 10 years old, we remember high school, we remember college, but we can't remember what we did 2 hours ago. Yes. So give me a little history on, why don't you do this? Why don't you give me a little history on you and what brought you into the area of memory?
Okay, quick summary. The same thing happened to me. You say the 5 years are a little more troublesome. For me, it hit me when I turned 40. I started doing that same thing, and it was almost to the day. It was uncanny. I started walking into rooms and going, oh no. Why did I come in here? Okay, I know I had a good reason. I wasn't just wandering here into the family room. And what I do more and more is I'd go back to my home office, or I'd go back to the kitchen and go, okay, and I'd look around and think, what was I thinking, just as you said? And then I go, oh, yeah, that's right. I needed to get the magazine that's on the family room coffee table that has the recipe in it that I saw that I wanted to try out. So I'd walk back to the living room, and I'd get to the living room, And then it would happen again, David. I'd stand there going, oh no. I'd come back in here and I still can't remember. This is the second time. And that was terrifying to me. I had an uncle who had Alzheimer's disease, and he lived for 10 years and got gradually worse and worse. And it was horrible to watch. And I thought, boy, people joke about, 40, 40 is the new 30 and things like that. But for me, I was thinking, if this is turning 40 or I'm losing my memory, I'm losing my mind, what's it going to be like when I'm 50, 60, 70, 80? Well, here it is 10 years later. I just turned 50 last month, and my memory's sharper than it ever was. And I have a great memory, one of the best in the world. And that's all because I studied the literature, I read a few books, I tried things out on my own, I developed my own techniques, and I put the effort into it. Your audience and you, we're people who have seen, what? You put the effort into something, it generally works out. You don't put the effort into something, it doesn't work out. So I put the effort into it, and my memory got better.
You hit on something that I was saving for later, and it also came out of not only that conversation the other night, but it came out of conversations that I have on a regular basis. This memory thing is causing a great fear amongst everybody about Alzheimer's. And we know because the baby boomer population is such a huge population that it is just natural for there to be an increase in Alzheimer's. But it is the first thought that everybody has. And I'm not sure you can answer it, but maybe you've investigated it. I know there are procedures you can go to where they test your memory, and there are certain signs. So when you thought, oh my God, my uncle had this, maybe it runs in the family, exactly at that moment, what did you do?
Well, I literally dusted a book off my bookshelf. When I was in my 20s, I spent some time in Japan, and I knew I was going to be there for 6 months. The first trip was going to be 6 months. And I thought, you know what? It's a courtesy to learn the language. I mean, if I'm traveling somewhere for a week or something, you learn a few words: hello, goodbye, thank you, where's the bathroom. But in my opinion, if I'm going to be somewhere for more than a few weeks, it's nice to pick up a little bit of the language. I think it's just a polite thing to do. So I was going to be there 6 months. I was working there. I thought I need to be maybe not fluent, but I need to be able to say a few things at least.
Understand and be a little bit conversational.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Make the effort, if nothing better. So before I went over there, I went to the local university and I picked up a textbook, basically a Japanese textbook. Here's how you learn Japanese, Japanese 101 or whatever it was. And I looked through it and I'm like, this looks kind of difficult. So I was wandering around the college bookstore and I saw another book on how to remember better. And I'm like, well, I wonder if this has any information about how to remember foreign languages. And it did. So it had a whole chapter on it. I'm like, well, great. I got 2 books. I'm going to be there 6 months. I'm going to have some downtime. I'll take these 2 books and we'll see what happens. And lo and behold, the short version is, didn't I learn the language really quickly and greatly impress people? Not because of how amazing I am, David, just because I followed instructions well. The memory improvement book said, do this. I looked at the Japanese book and I did what it said, and I picked up the language. And I was conversationally fluent by the end of the 6 months, so much so that I impressed the people I was working for and with and got another contract to come back. So when I turned 40 and this started happening, I thought, wow, do I still have that book? It was a pretty good book, and I'm a book person, so I carry them around. And lo and behold, I did have it. I dusted it off. It didn't really have anything pertinent to, well, here's what happens as we get older. But it did have, here, try this. You can memorize words. Try this. You can learn this. Try this. You can get better with names. I was horrible with names and phone numbers, so I started there. And it worked. I went to a memory competition. I'd read an article years ago about a memory competition. I thought, I wonder if they still have that. So I looked it up on the internet, found out it was happening. It's only a couple weeks away. I squeaked in on the deadline to go. I didn't really train. I went. I met some wonderful people, people like me who have now turned memorizing into a competitive sport. So I guess there are a lot of other nerds like me out there. And I just found that, you know what, this is not the drudgery I thought it was. This is not going back to school and sitting and rote memorization and just going, oh, I hate this. Remembering better can be fun. It can be enjoyable. And, you know, I can't really speak to Alzheimer's and memory loss. I do know, you know, in my family, my mother-in-law is 91 now, and she has worried about Alzheimer's the last couple of years, and she's gone and gotten tested by her primary care physician. And the Alzheimer's dementia test is a pretty low bar. It's quite different than can you remember well day to day. I equate it kind of like in the physical, which I keep coming back to describe the mental for memory. It's kind of like, you know, heart disease and keeping yourself physically active and healthy. You know, there are people who run marathons, there are people who are very fit that have heart disease and that have heart attacks. Does it make sense to still take care of ourselves? Yes. Is heart disease maybe staved off by keeping ourselves healthy? Probably. Can a healthy person still get heart disease? Yes. So I think the same thing is true for memory and memory athletes like myself. Could I still be susceptible to Alzheimer's? Yes. Is my day-to-day memory until that happens going to be a lot better than average? Certainly.
All right. So we're going to go to break, but I'll ask you the question before we go to break, and
okay.
We'll come
back. Give me
back.
a chance to think about it.
Okay. So we're at the place where everybody is holding on to their seat going, all right, I'm getting older. Tell me what to do. All right. So when we come back, I'll give you time to think about it and to teach us how to walk into a room and remember why. And we'll be back after our sponsor and our commercial break. This is David Yakir. You're listening to Yak About Today, and I've got Brad Zupp, and we are talking about improving your memory. We'll be right back. I want to take a moment to talk to you about New Vision Eye Center. You know, for the last couple of years, they've been a sponsor of this show, and I couldn't be prouder. I've met so many people that have walked up to me and thanked me for recommending them. I hear all sorts of stories about how they've worked miracles. And as you know, I've been a patient of New Vision Eye Center for years. So when I say go see Dr. Minotti, Reinauer, Tate, and O'Brien, it's because I wouldn't trust my eyes to anyone else. And we are back. I'm David Yakir. You're listening to Yak About Today, and I'm here with Brad Zupp. And I know everybody's sitting at the edge of their seat waiting for Brad to tell them how to start remembering things. So when we left, you were going to give us sort of some exercises, I guess they're called, on how to improve our memory, especially
right.
as we get older.
Yes, definitely. I've got 3.5 tips. The first, let's say the half one, is decide if you want to remember better. Is it important to you? Are you okay with walking into rooms? Are you okay with forgetting names? I mean, everybody forgets names occasionally. We forgive each other. Oh, I'll remind you, my name is Brad, that type of thing. It's not a big deal. Can you figure out by retracing your steps why you walked into the family room? Sure, that's not a problem. So decide if it's important to you. If it is important to you, then the 3 tips I have are just try. You know, we have good memories. Think about all the things you remember. From childhood things to, we may have trouble remembering what we ate for breakfast this morning or what we ate for lunch yesterday. Those are inconsequential things. And the older we are, the less important they are because we have more of a timeline. You know, the first time we had an amazing gourmet meal that sticks in your mind, what we had for dinner 3 nights ago, if it wasn't a gourmet meal, does it really need to stick in our mind? So that's one thing. But if you do decide that you want to remember better, just try. You know, if remembering what your partner made you for dinner on Sunday night is important, review it. Every day we get 2 excellent chances to review. I say review to remember. That's one of the best things to do. Review to remember. We get 2 chances when we brush our teeth, in the morning and at night. Most of us do it twice a day. Morning, at night, just think about, all right, this is my cue. You get your toothbrush out. You're like, this is my cue. This is my time to think about what I did today and what I want to remember. Back in the day, people journaled or they wrote letters. They wrote letters home or to their loved ones. And it was a daily or every couple day thing where they put down on paper and actively recalled and wrote out what happened. And it's a great way to remember. So journaling or writing letters, but so is just brushing your teeth and going, oh yeah, I met so-and-so, and I had a great talk with David for his radio show and podcast, and then I did this, and my partner made me this for dinner. We should be brushing our teeth for 2 minutes. It's a great time to review. So review is one terrific tip. Just review what you want to remember. How's that one work? Does that make sense?
I think that's great. I happen to brush my teeth in the afternoon and at night. So
great. You get an extra time to improve your memory.
So since you're go ahead.
Our natural memories are there. We have them. We're just maybe losing a step as we get older. So we need to use a little technique and review, and that will definitely help. Another one is keeping our mental and physical health top in mind. So physically, a lot of scientists have done a lot of studies that show that cardiovascular exercise 3 to 4 times a week, 20 minutes at a time, is wonderful for not only our bodies, but also our minds. Obviously, the caveats, check with your physician and all that stuff. But that is a suggestion from a lot of scientists to keep our minds and bodies healthy. The other side of that, the mental side, is do something to reduce your stress, something healthy. I mean, there are several things we can do that aren't terribly healthy, but choose a healthy thing. Journal, laugh, play, run, yoga, meditate, share with a friend, get in the habit of talking to someone at the end of your work day and just reviewing how the day went and laughing off the troublesome things and rejoicing in the good things. So physical and mental health top of mind. That one makes sense too. Easier said than done, but we're of this age now where we have some wisdom and have some maturity to choose to do a little bit better. And the last one is, it's going to be hard for those of us still working, stop multitasking. Do one thing at a time with all your focus. Someone tries to interrupt you, say, excuse me, I'll get back to you in 5 minutes when I'm done with this. Maybe even jot down, talk to David, he has a question for me, and then get fully back focused on what you're doing. Your natural memory will rise to the occasion to help you remember. So 3.5 tips. So those make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I think you also answered the next question on my list. And that was why we have trouble with memory. And it's interesting. It makes total sense now that I'm listening to you. So it really is, it's a combination of physical. Obviously, there are changes in the brain. The cardio helps getting the blood rushing through your vein, which should improve your ability to remember. So there's a physical aspect. And then there are choices we make, I think is what you're saying. And, and I think the question then is all these brain exercises that are coming out in apps and online and all that. I've tried them. And
what'd you think?
I don't do terribly on them. I'm sort of proud that I get through to a certain level, and I past a certain level, I don't think I ever get through. But I never feel that there are lasting effects from those exercises, But then again, I haven't put together the whole kit and caboodle that you're talking about. I like to go to the gym regularly, but I think the idea of concentrating on those things that are important may be the most important thing that you can share with us.
Yes.
Right.
And there are three quick steps to why we remember and why we forget. First, we have to get the information. If you don't get the information, you're listening to your partner or not listening to your partner say something. When they ask you a question about what they said the next day and you weren't fully present, you can't remember. So you might say, "I'm sorry, honey, I have a horrible memory." You don't really have a good or bad memory. You just weren't paying attention, or you didn't get the information. Then you have to save it. Then you have to recall it. So it's a 3-step process. And a lot of people say, "Well, I've got a bad memory," but where is it breaking down? Because if you're breaking down on the recall, you're so stressed that you got the information, you saved it, but you're so stressed because something's happening in 5 minutes and you've got to get off the phone to deal with it. You're not going to recall something as easily as if you were not stressed and didn't have that deadline. So It's really important also to figure out where your remembering is going wrong. For the most part, when I coach people and the seminars and stuff I do, people always say I have a horrible recall. Really what they have is we as a society, in my opinion, we're not paying enough attention. So when we pay attention, the natural memory kicks in. So I generally start there.
Okay, Brad, we have to stop here for the broadcast audience. And as usual, to our broadcast audience, we have to say goodbye. If you want to continue listening to our conversation, please go to yakabouttoday.com, and that way you can hear the next part of our conversation with Brad. And I think you really want to do that because, unless you don't remember, of course.
Write it down if you don't remember.
Write it down. It's Yakabout Today. And I'll see you all next week, unless I see you or hear you or you're listening to the next part of the show. This is David Yakir. You're listening to Yakabout Today. Love you. Bye-bye. Peace.
Take out the